Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we are at the Malting Company of Ireland. I'm here with Chris. Chris is the technical manager, and you pretty much control how the malt's going to be made.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So
I have a few friends, but yeah.
But so in the process of making malt, there's so much technical knowledge and technical things that you and your team need to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just on a typical kind of malt coming in, what processes are you going through?
Okay, so our barley is supplied with about 600 growers growing the barley on contract for us.
Okay.
So that will be shepherded through typical family farms.
Yeah.
We have all the agronomy backup with our two grain suppliers, Geterbrewed and Tirlawn. So that barley is delivered, weather permitting, in August.
Yeah.
And selected there. So we only get the choicest of grains, basically.
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop, literally. And that grain is then dried. We'll allow it to relax after that. It has a kind of an inbuilt dormancy before it'll grow. Our process is essentially controlled germination.
Okay.
So we need all those grains to be fully awake, which normally takes about 6 to 8 weeks after harvest. So we'll test those by putting them into a Petri dish, adding the ideal amount of water, and see will they all grow together.
Yes.
And if they'll grow uniformly, then they're ready for malting.
Yeah.
So we will then take that in. We'll test it on intake. And bring that in, screen the smaller grains out of it, and send them back for animal feed. And then the bigger grains, which will deliver best extract, essentially, with high starch content, we'll take those and steep them in water, get them to release their micronutrients and nutrients itself. Mainly sugar and soluble protein.
That's what we want.
which is going to fuel and feed a yeast fermentation.
All right.
And from that yeast fermentation, you get we will impart a certain amount of flavour in the malt, which will be carried through to a beer.
Yeah.
And also some of the sugar will go towards producing carbon dioxide bubbles and alcohol.
The stuff that we want.
Yeah.
And this is kind of your process over here that we got in the little jars of you testing your enzymes, testing your extracts, testing what's going to your final beer pretty much.
So for the finished product, we will essentially have a small mash house, essentially.
Yeah.
So we're mashing, we'll mill the grain. We'll mash it with water at the prescribed temperature and get that to give us a wort, which we have here. Yeah. And then we'll check this wort, first of all, for its density, which tells us how much sugar is there, and soluble material. And that then will eventually be converted. The more, the better, basically. So that the higher the extract you can get, the more beer you can make per unit of malt.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you want, is the best extract to get to your final product.
So we're developing varieties that will give you a high yield of extract, high yield for the grower, which is more on the sustainability front, but also give you a good flavour profile.
Yes, yeah.
And so we have 5 core products, I suppose. The process itself is, as I said earlier, controlled germination. It's very straightforward. Now, we do something that others don't do, which is we wash the barley.
Yes, we saw that washing auger doing its thing.
So you're getting rid of the odd diseased grain that might be there, grain that succumbed to, a wet, soggy morning and getting infected. So we take those out, which others often leave in. So those are going to be sources of potential off flavors, and also spoilage organisms. So your shelf life may be affected. So by taking those out, we clean the flavor and we make it a more stable product, essentially. Then you're basically encouraging the germ to break down the nutrients that are within the grain. And at the end of the process, we're kiln drying it on a batch basis, which develops your flavors to varying degrees depending on which malt we want to produce. And obviously, very importantly, to preserve it.
And each one of those, each one of your malts, they basically go through a different temperature, kind of a different time in the kilns, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's the balance of heat, time, and moisture. Basically, is what will give you an awful lot of your character. That it's kind of the crescendo, if you like, of the production process. Everything is building up to that, and that will determine your your final character, your malt.
And does each of the malts in terms of the steeping and the germinations all pretty much goes to that same? There's not much change there.
There'll be subtle differences. So, like for a lager malt, we would be aiming for the sugars to be that little bit unfermentable. So it carries through as mouthfeel. So it's there's a silkiness, there's a weight to the liquid. While still having a subtle flavour there. And still having plenty of enzyme capacity to convert itself. So I mean, the palest of our products is our Origin Gold. So to preserve the enzymes, you would basically keep the temperature in the kiln low until your moisture goes down. And then start ramping up the temperature to force dry and cure the malt and develop your flavour. So we would be waiting for quite a while on the Origin Gold, just to develop very little colour, very little it's kind of strong malty flavours. So it's a very subtly flavoured malt that'll allow your hops to come forward, and the malt is quite confidently to sit back.
So sort of ideal for kind of IPAs, double IPAs, big heavy hitting hop kind of beers. And would you use that sort of in a percentage? What would you use that in a?
All of these are suitable to be used at 100%.
Perfect.
So you can blend. So like with the, I suppose, going from right to left, as the camera sees.
I don't know. Which way are you looking? Which way are you guys looking?
It's early in the day.
Our way would be left to right.
So Origin Gold is the gentlest kilning. A step up from that would be kind of 3 similarly coloured products with slightly different characteristics. Our distilling malt is designed to be easily convertible. So you have a lot of enzymes there to convert. So typically in a pot still whiskey, you could have 40% raw grain going in there, which hasn't any enzymes. Yeast cannot eat starch, so it needs it to be converted to sugar. So that needs strong enzyme capacity and an awful lot of the sugars to be very fermentable to give you a high alcohol yield at the end of that. Similarly, the Stout Malt was also developed to take up to 40-50% raw cereal. So that has a similar enzyme capacity to the distilling malt, but is finished at a little bit higher temperature to clean the flavour that little bit. And again, you have then you move on to the lager malt, again quite pale. So you have but the difference between the lager and the stout is that for the lager we're looking at more of the sugar to be, or less of the sugar to be fermentable.
Okay.
Because a stout, while perfectly capable of working on its own, because you've developed those enzymes, it's inclined to, it's designed to take weight basically from the adjuncts you put with it. Whereas the lager will stand alone, and give you a weightier,
cleaner malt.
Pilsner. It's a pale lager, so it's bordering on a pilsner style lager malt.
Okay.
And then when you bring in the temperature a little bit earlier on the kiln, you start to do a little bit more caramelization.
Adding a bit of color.
Color is flavor.
Yeah.
So as we're going through the range, you're developing that little bit more flavor.
It's like a good steak. You want that color on the outside.
Absolutely,
makes it taste better.
The very same.
Yeah.
So you have, while you can still use this for the likes of an IPA, you'd be more malt forward.
Okay.
So this has a bit of strong malty. If you want to, like an Irish ale, this is your guy.
All right. So if you're gonna still wanting some hoppiness, but you're also wanting to add that kind of malty kind of flavors, that would be your guy to go for. All right.
So if you're looking for a light, subtle, being able to nuance hops, then you're looking down at this range. So you can use either the Origin Gold or the Stout.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something more malt forward with a bit of strength there, then you're looking up at the ale.
At that side, okay. And then, like for your lager malt, we always say it's used for lagers and pilsners and stuff. Can you use that for an ale, for just something different, or? It's like you can use it with putting chocolate malt or roast barley in there or whatever to produce a stout. It still has plenty of enzymatic conversion ability there to put other malts in with it. It's perfectly capable of doing multitasking. I know we've done that before with our own beers. Is pretty much using a Pilsner malt in our RPAs. And it produces great flavor, great extracts and that sort of thing. So perfect. Now with stout malt again, it's not just for stout. You can use it for
a lot of people are kind of thrown when they see stout malt, they expect it to be black. But it was developed with a very famous Irish stout in mind.
Just a certain one we're not going to name or anything like that.
Remain nameless. But which uses quite a lot of barley in the mash. So it basically had to have that enzymatic strength to convert that raw barley and actually use it in the brewing process. If it isn't converted, it goes for animal feed, which isn't too popular. But it's still quite subtly flavored, and I know a lot of brewers in the States are using it for pale beers. They're using the stout for that. So it's it's
versatile.
It's versatile and very forgiving. Because you have that conversion ability there. It's not fickle. You give it any length of rope at all, and it'll run. It'll do its thing.
And then onto the distilling malt. I know distilling malts aren't always great for beer production.
They're like it's horses for courses basically. For a beer, you want to experience mouthfeel. So you need a bit of weight. And you also need unfermentable sugar to give you sweetness and that malty flavor. Distilling malt will take the malty flavor as aromatics. So they're evaporated up through the still
and stuff. All right.
Unfermentable sugar for mouthfeel. No.
Yeah.
No interest, because that's going to an effluent plant essentially.
Yeah.
So they're looking for high fermentability in that.
Want as much sugar as they can possibly get out of a malt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fermentable sugar.
Yeah.
We'd have similar sugar levels in the other malts. It's just that the distilling is designed to have them fermentable.
Okay.
So you can still make a beer with it.
Yeah.
But it might be a bit light.
Yeah.
Light in the mouth and not necessarily overly sweet.
Okay. Yeah, because the yeasts are pretty much going to eat up everything that it's given.
Yeah. They're hungry.
Yeah. So, just regarding the distilling malt, now that is purely Irish distilling malt.
Absolutely, yeah.
Made in Ireland by Irish farmers, by Irish maltsters.
Grown, malted, and mostly distilled in Ireland.
Okay.
So, if you want your genuine Irish whiskey, and you can name pretty much any label, and that malt has gone into it.
All right, awesome. So, guys, Irish whiskey, if you're wanting to make some genuine, proper Irish whiskey, right there.
Yeah. You know where to get it.
So, Chris, thank you for going through all your malts. Just what I wanted to cover, one of the biggest things is that Irish heritage, that Irish malt. What makes Irish malt special? Is that a loaded question?
No short answer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose going back to its roots, because of the climate in Ireland, we plant, compared to other places in the world, we plant very early.
Okay.
So typically we're planting in February and harvesting in August.
Okay.
So we have the crop gets a lot of sunshine.
Okay. Sometimes.
And sometimes. At least 2 or 3 days of sunshine. So all in the climate, the moist climate, your long growing period, and fertile soils that we grow our barley in, produces a grain that is quite large.
Okay.
And that in turn gives you something with high extracts.
Yeah. Okay.
And that gives you brew house efficiency.
Okay.
It just gives you kind
of
a world leading product.
All right, a bit of malt at the end. That bigger grain is going to kind of help you get the most out of your
we will screen small grains out for a reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Small grains do not give you a good product.
All right.
So
you just want the big guys.
We'll select the big guys with plenty to offer.
Okay.
Essentially, and our growers, where credit where it's due, deliver that.
Okay.
Year in, year out.
All right.
To give us, we can't do what we do without our growers.
Yes.
And we're with the same 500-600 growers for, a good while.
Yeah.
there isn't much change in them. It's an established kind of ring-fenced supply chain.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've the same guys, we've our growers coming on tour here so that they can better understand our process and what's required of them and what happens to their product. So they're very much engaged in our process and that pays off. It really does.
Working
they know exactly what they're what they're working towards as opposed to just, I dump something out and I get a check and I walk away in the end of it.
And I suppose it helps them knowing that they have a into market kind of
absolutely. So they can track, if they order a 25-year-old whiskey or whatever, they can say, my barley actually went into that bottle.
Into that final product,
or order a beer. They'll know, my barley could be in that one, could be in that one, or whatever. And when you bring that kind of end to end, it focuses their attention on quality. And we reap the rewards.
Yeah, they want to make a good product so that they can, at the end of the day, show off their kind of product.
They're feeding themselves essentially.
Yeah.
And it it pays off.
Yeah.
It really does.
All right, awesome. So guys, that is pretty much the malts that we have at MCI. Fantastic range of base malts. Thank you, Chris, very much for going through in detail all of these malts and explaining to us exactly where to use them, how to use them. Yep. So guys, if you're looking to get any of these malts, check it out on our website. And I highly recommend you trying this out, not just because of the heritage that you're going to get, but from the fantastic guys like Chris that are really passionate about every step of the way that these tiny little, well, sorry, not these tiny, these massive brains are going through. And as always, guys, happy brewing.